All right. So the next thing that you guys are going to be doing, now that you guys have learned how to use the pen tool, you guys are going to be learning a little bit more about composition and how to lay things out in the page and how to use that pen tool even better, and also using text. What you guys are going to do is you're going to make a composition using the rule of thirds. Anyone that's had me for digital photography already knows what rule of thirds is. I don't think, have I had any of you guys for digital photography? I don't think so.
Rule of thirds.
So I'm going to go over it. So rule of thirds, what you're going to do, you're going to make a design. It's very simple. I have several examples for you guys. You're going to use a silhouette of some sort of object. Okay? What's a silhouette?
Something that's like an
outline or something.
It's like an outline. It's like a shadow, right? So right here you got the silhouette of the fish hook, right? You only need to draw that object once, okay? Because that's the only image you're going to be using in this assignment. So you're going to use a silhouette, the word of the silhouette, so fish hook. So you're going to use fish hook, and the two initials or the one initial of the actual object. So if it's dog, you would have a silhouette of a dog, you would use the D, and you would write dog somewhere. Now you can use no more than one or two colors plus black and white, and you can repeat any of those things as much as you want in the composition to create visual interest. The reason we're doing this is if you go into graphic design, you're not doing what you want. Like, you don't just go into a graphic design and be like, I feel like I'm going to create this today. You have a client who comes to you and gives you certain parameters of things that they need you to do, right? They're going to give you specifications. They're going to say you need to include this. They're going to say you need to include this. You're going to say you need to include this. And you have to give it to them. If you don't give that to them, if you don't give them what they want, or you're missing things that they tell you that they need in whatever they're telling you to do, then they're not going to hire you again. And they're not going to refer you to other people. So this is kind of almost like how it would be in the real world if you were going to be a graphic designer. So think of it this way. I am your client. These are the things I'm asking for. Okay, you're going to give me a composition using rule of thirds, which I'm going to go over what that is in a minute. You're going to make a design with a silhouette of an object. Okay, so it should be like shoe, teapot. It should be something recognizable. And you're going to use the initials that represent it, and no more than two colors plus black and white. Now, the two colors, you can use lights and darks of that color. Okay, so you've got the light blue and the dark blue for the gradients, but you can only stick to those two colors, and you can repeat as many times as you want. Notice the fish hook is only drawn once, but it's repeated a bunch of times. Okay, so okay. So now I'm going to help you guys see what rule of thirds is about. Which one of these do you think has the best composition?
Bottom left.
C? Or B?
Composition.
Yeah, the way it's laid out on the page.
A.
Okay. So a lot of people usually pick B, okay, because they think because it's in the middle that looks good, right? Because when you take portraits and things like that, when people take their regular pictures, they usually try to put the object in the middle. But that's not what you want. That's not really what you want when you do composition. Composition for anything, what you want is you want some sort of balance. You don't want your subject or your main focus to be right in the middle of the page, because then there's no place else to look around the page. Once you look here, you're kind of done, right? But if you look here at A, you see you've got something here and something here, and your eye kind of bounces back and forth between the two. So this is a rule of thirds composition, because the main focal point, which is that barn sheddy thing, is not right in the middle of the page. It's on one of the grid lines. So rule of thirds, and you use this in photography, you use this in drawing, you use this in all kinds of different art forms. Rule of thirds is a good compositional device. You put a grid, an imaginary grid over your picture, and you don't want anything in the middle or in one of these kind of squares. You want your main subjects to be either along one of these lines, or in a perfect world, where the lines connect. And that's what rule of thirds is, because your subject is going to be on 1/3 of the picture, your main subject, okay? And your idea is to you have your main subject, your main focal point, but you want other things of interest in the composition to make your eye bounce back and forth around the picture. So if you look at this one now, you see this one smack dab in the middle. If I put the rule of thirds grid lines on, this one, you've got the focal point right here where it crosses, which is nice. And then you have this to drag your eye back, and then this drags your eye back around, and you come back to the shed. So the goal of this is to make sure that your subject is not in the middle, and to make sure there are other things in the picture that move your eye around the composition. So this is a famous painting by Van Gogh. Where do your guy's eye look?
To the right.
To what?
To the house.
To the house. Good. Notice the house. This is Van Gogh we're talking about. He was like 1880s, right? Look at where he put the house, right on the rule of thirds line here, okay? So that's the main focal point here. But you do have other things that grab your eye and pull you back around, but the main focal point is the house. Okay? So here's another one. What's your main focal point in this one? What do you guys think your
The
eye goes
safety pin on the top left. On the,
to? Which safety pin?
on the top left of the grid.
The black one?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Why?
Because it's right. It's like bigger
Big
than
and
everything else. It's
black.
more visual.
Okay.
What?
So there's a couple of reasons. There's a couple of things that make something the focal point. Number one, it's on the rule of thirds kind of crosshairs here. Okay, some people say this is the focal point, but I agree. I think this is the focal
What
point.
even is that?
It's a safety.
The darkest thing in the picture sometimes
it's
makes
It's
something
like,
the focal point.
yeah.
Sometimes the biggest thing in the picture can be the focal point. Sometimes the brightest thing in the picture could be the focal point. So it depends what you're going to do. So you got to think about that when you're doing it. But if you notice, there's only one safety pin drawn. So when you draw whatever your image is going to be, it better be amazing because you're only drawing it once. You can copy and paste it, change the color, rotate it, make it bigger, flip it, do whatever you want, but you're only drawing it once. You only have to draw it once. So when you draw it, you got to make sure it's like really crisp and really looks good. So this is the focal point because it's dark, but you also have this over here balancing it, right? So it bounces back and forth. So your eye kind of follows this big P for pin that goes off the page. That's another thing. You don't have to have everything completely on the page. Things can go off the page. It makes it interesting. So this P is huge, but it goes right along the rule of thirds line. It drags your eye up, and then you kind of follow this safety pin here, and then the words, and then your eye goes here, and then you follow this white one down, and then you follow the word safety pin again, and your eye keeps moving across the page. Beautiful composition, but that's why it's set up that way. But repetition and overlapping of shapes creates more interest. But like I said, you're only doing the silhouette once. So you need the silhouette, you need the name of whatever you drew, and the initials of whatever you drew. Okay? So keep in mind, when you do the silhouette, you want it to be something recognizable, right? You don't want it to look like this. Now you probably could tell what this is because I left the picture underneath. It's a dog, but it doesn't really look like a dog. It looks like a blob, right? Because I'm looking at it from the front.
I don't think
Okay?
dog
If
looks like black.
I want to make it look like a dog, I want to take it from a profile picture so I can see that it looks like a dog. So whenever you're picking your subject, you want to pick a subject that the silhouette is going to look like what it is, right? So if you're doing a person and I'm just like this, I'm just going to look like a blob, right? But if I do a person that's like walking or doing something where, you know, you actually can see the shape of me, that's what you're doing. I don't think a person is a good thing to use for this. I'm just using it as an example that you could see the silhouette. So you want to make sure it's a recognizable image. Like this key, right? This is drawn and you can probably tell it's a key, but it's a crappy key, right? You have curves, you haven't made it really detailed. This is what I'm looking for. I don't want to see this. Like whatever your main subject, like I said, you're only drawing it once. So when you draw it, it has to look really crisp and really good, okay? You guys see what I mean by the difference between those? You want to make it look really nice and crisp because you're reusing it over and over and over again. If you want to cut out, sorry, I'm still sick. If you want to cut out shapes from a shape, I can show you how to do that. It's not hard. But you want to keep it simple. You don't want to have anything very, very complicated. You want to keep it a simple shape.
That's a key.
Okay. Once you have your idea with your shape, right, you're going to try to figure out different ideas for it. So what you're going to do is, I have paper here. You're each going to take a piece of paper. You might take more than one piece of paper. And what you're going to do is you're going to fold it so that you have the grid lines on the paper. So you're going to fold it like a letter. So you're going to fold 1/3 in. And this is to like give you guys your idea and go over with me. And 1/3, like a letter. So I've got the grid lines this way, right? And then I'm going to fold it up again, and I'm going to fold it 1/3 in here. Wait, am I doing this right? And 1/3 in here. So then when I open it, I'm going to have the grid line on it, right? Okay, so this is your composition. You can either hold it vertical, you can hold it horizontal, I don't care. What I do want you guys to do is once you have an idea, or you can make a couple different ideas, you're gonna pretend this is your whole composition and I want you to draw out how you wanna do it. You can deviate from it once you start working, but I wanna know that you have like an idea of what you're doing when you're going. So there's different ways that you can do it. You can take your shape and make it big and work onto it. You can put negative space, which means you're cutting away from it. You could cut up the shape. There's a million different ways. If you all did the word key, you could all do it a different way. Okay, so there isn't like one answer for this, how it should look. All right, all of these are good. All of these follow the rule of thirds. I've got a rule of thirds here. I've got a rule of thirds here. I've got a rule of thirds here, right? Rule of thirds, rule of thirds, rule of thirds. I've got a focal point in each of them. But I want you guys to do at least 4 of these. So you're going to take 2 pieces of paper, you're going to fold them. I want 1 composition on the front, 1 composition on the back. I want you to do 4 because guess what? Your first one's never your best one.
So we're doing
You could
4.
separate it this way, and these are all fine too.
Yeah, but where's the picture of the key? Wow.
Okay, so you can add, see how this is patterned, but it's all the key repeated, right? You got the key overlapping here using gradients. These keys were all overlapped but made to be one shape, and then there's a gradient on it. You can use the initials as many times as you want. The sky's the limit. You just need to make sure that there's a focal point, and the focal point is on the rule of thirds, and you want to make sure you've got a lot of different things going on to drag your eye around the page. So what's the focal point for this one?
Guitar.
Well, be more specific.
On the left, bottom left.
Okay, bottom left?
Or to all the way to the bottom right, where the G is.
Okay. So sometimes people get confused here. They don't know whether this is really the focal point, or the G is the focal point, or this is the focal point. This area is the focal point, right? So you have guitar, you have the big G, you have the guitar going up, that drags your eye here up to here, and you kind of follow this guitar down and around again. That's what I'm looking for when you guys hand these in. I want to see that my eye will move across the page. Here's another one. I like this one because they use the stilettos to make the S. Okay. But what's the focal point in this one?
What's a stiletto?
It's a high heel. What's the focal point in this one,
I
guys?
think the focal point is either the bottom left black heel or the top right S.
I feel like it's here because you got the white at the high contrast. You got the boot. Keep it simple. Do not choose something that is very hard to do. This one I love. You've got the fork on the rule of thirds, so you've got this bringing your eye in. So this is the focal point here, but I love the repetition of the fork to make kind of like a design.
Yeah,
You got the 2 colors, the blue and the white, and you got the black. They kept it to 3. All right, so